Welcome to Beverly Unitarian Church Online Worship. My name is Jenny Cottrell and I am a worship associate, and I am glad to welcome you to worship today. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation of children, youth, and adults of many races, religions, secular identities, genders, sexual orientations, abilities, educations, life experiences, and traditions. Here we celebrate a diversity of beliefs, striving always to make space for more. All of you are sacred. All of you are welcome here. Whatever your past or present is like, we invite you to walk into the future with us. Like other Unitarian Universalist congregations, we affirm 7 principles, which are not doctrine or dogma, but rather our shared values and moral guide. To learn more about these principles, please visit the website of our denomination, uua.org. Our minister is the Reverend David Schwartz. Today we are fortunate to have as our speaker for this Earth Day service, Fran Sowa, who is a member of this church and a leader in our Green Sanctuary group. We especially welcome visitors and hope you'll stay for virtual coffee hour after the service on Zoom using the link that will be shared at the end of the service. We look forward to the day when we will be able to meet you in person. Although we currently remain distanced physically, we can stay connected. To get more involved, check out our Facebook page and our website. Contact the office to sign up for our monthly newsletter and weekly Friday email blast, and to be connected to Reverend David for pastoral care. Every year about this time, our church has its annual pledge drive, a period of a few weeks in which we ask our members to each make a financial commitment to the support of this congregation in the coming fiscal year to start July 1st. It is our tradition during our pledge drive to invite a few of our members to give a short testimonial about what this religious community means to them, why they value it, and why it is worth their financial investment. Today we will hear from Jeff Pinzino and Katrina Pavlik.
Hi, it's Jeff and Katrina. We're here today to talk about why we pledge to Beverly Unitarian Church.
Number 1, it's a great place for our children to grow up. They are learning about multiple perspectives and multiple ways of thinking of the world and being in the world, and we really love that.
2, it's a church that takes a stand. We're committed to justice as a family, and the church is too. And so we're excited to be in a place that expresses that.
And 3, even though we're committed to justice, not everybody always agrees what that looks like. And what we love about this place is that we agree to stay in conversation and we don't shut people down. We really love that.
And 4, coffee hour. Church is a social place for us, and we're excited to be back together in person soon. And this pledge is a chance for us to be able to get towards that goal. So we're increasing our pledge this year, and we're excited to support Beverly Unitarian.
Well, they pay paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hot tub, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, put away that DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Late last night, heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know gone. Hey, paradise, put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Hey, paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, paradise, put up a parking lot.
Now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship with these words by the poet Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness, I would almost say they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. "It's simple," they say, "and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine." As I light this chalice that is a symbol of our faith, please join with me in reading the words for chalice lighting as they appear on your screen. As the first hint of green begins to peek through the barren ground, as that little sprig grows into a healthy stem, as that stem grows into a stalk and forms a bud, as that bud slowly opens with each new day to form a yellow daffodil. Let us be, like that first hint of green, renewed by the warmth of the sun's rays, and ready to emerge with a new energy, ready to face the day. We light this chalice to bring a glimmer of that warmth into our space.
Friends, will you join me in the words of our covenant? Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Today's story for all ages is The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and the tree loved a boy. And every day the little boy would come, and he would gather her leaves. And take them and make crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when the little boy was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree, and the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older. And the tree was often alone. And then one day, the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in the shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money? I'm sorry, said the tree, but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money, and you will be happy. And so the boy climbed the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away, and the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back. He's a grown man now. And the tree said, "Come, boy, come, and climb up my trunk, and swing from my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" You see, well, he's grown. He's a man, an older man now. "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." And the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. She's not just a little stump now. There he's taking the trunk. And the tree was happy, but not really. Poor thing, look at it. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone." "My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb." "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I am sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry." "I don't need very much," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could. "Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down. Sit down and rest." And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end. Now, this story was published almost 60 years ago, and people have been arguing about it ever since. Some readers see it as a wonderful tale of unconditional love, at least on the part of the tree, while others see it as a sad story of a little boy who chased after happiness in material things all his life and never realized what was really important in life. Some writers went as far as to publish alternative stories in which there was a second tree, and that tree said no to the little boy and explained why this was best. And wouldn't you know it, when the little boy came back to the tree as an old man, he chose to sit under the shade of the second tree, which still had its leafy branches. Now, what do you think? And what do you think a real tree would say about all this?
Every week, we go throughout our daily lives experiencing joys and sorrows. Every week, we come back together on Sunday and we share those joys and sorrows with this community of faith. In just a moment, it will be time to share your joys and sorrows in the chat. Please remember that the chat is public. If there is a joy or sorrow that is too tender to share in words, please type I, as if you are raising two fingers in church to have your joy or sorrow silently recognized. Let us hold the joys and sorrows of one another in our hearts at this time.
Trees don't speak, at least not in our language. They do communicate with each other, however. And lately, thanks to some scientists, we are able to listen in on them. Dr. Suzanne Simard is one of those scientists. She grew up in British Columbia. She often played in the forests there. One day, young Suzanne had helped her father dig out the family dog who had fallen into muck beneath an outhouse. This was her first chance to look under the forest floor. The roots and fungal colonies which she saw down there fascinated her. So Suzanne became a forester, but she soon discovered that her job had nothing to do with the forest. The forest had been cleared to make room for a commercial plantation. Her job was to maintain a plantation for only fir trees and pine trees until they were ready for market. She was disappointed, but she was also troubled because she saw many young fir trees die after their neighbors who were birch trees, had been removed from this plantation. So she returned to the university to study how trees relate to and rely upon each other. Then, in 1992, she went into the forest again. This time she planted seedling trees, and she was able to show that the birch and fir trees, which were related species, had exchanged carbon with each other. Her experiments showed that the roots and fungal webs of birch and fir trees were communicating, sort of like the way that neurons transmit chemical and electrical signals in our own bodies. Since Dr. Simard's discoveries, scientists have learned that trees share many nutrients among themselves and with other species as well. Trees team up with friendly fungi. Fungi are unique. Like insects, fungi have cell walls made of chitin. But they are not insects. Neither are they plants, since they cannot photosynthesize. They are somewhere between the two, and they rely on trees for nutrition. Trees provide nutrition to them in the form of sugars and other carbohydrates. In return, the fungal webs wrap around the tree roots and reach out far into the soil. A tree is then able to obtain a lot more water and nutrients, as well as information, than would be possible through its own roots alone. Fungi also protect a tree against intruders, and they filter out toxins. The rejected material often ends up in mushrooms, which we see growing near the tree. Scientists who examined the site of the Chernobyl nuclear explosion found that most of the radioactive element in that soil is found in mushrooms. All over the world, trees have been observed looking after each other. Acacia trees in Africa release a gas to warn their neighbors that an animal is eating its leaves. Within minutes, the other acacias begin pumping a bad-tasting substance into their leaves. The animals often move on to other feeding areas. Trees also cooperate with other species. For example, if elm or pine trees are attacked by caterpillars, the trees can release a scent. That scent attracts wasps who attack the caterpillars. Trees have been on Earth for approximately 380 million years, and we humans have been here for a much shorter period. And we've always relied on trees for food, shelter, medicine, and other products. Now we are beginning to realize just how valuable whole forests containing a mix of different trees are to us and to the survival of life on this planet. For example, sometimes a disease or a pest is able to kill most of the current generation of a particular kind of tree. This threatens the survival of that species and also the birds, animals, humans, and insects who rely on the tree. In a diverse forest, the neighboring species who have not been attacked will survive. They are able to help the devastated species to recover. They can provide shade and nutrition for the seedlings, which will grow into a new generation of trees. Unfortunately, large portions of old forests in the Amazon and elsewhere are still being cut down. But environmental groups and some governments are working to protect old forests. Some are even working to restore forests in areas where they disappeared long ago. One of those restored forests is in Germany, near the village of Hummel. Peter Wallenbahn leads that effort. He began his career as a typical commercial forester. He removed trees which were not considered commercially valuable and took care of the remaining trees until they were ready for market. He also began to study what scientists were discovering about trees. Eventually, he convinced the village to allow him to set up a preserve containing some of the trees which had been planted for the timber market. In his preserve, he was able to demonstrate that if commercially planted trees and their descendants are allowed to grow undisturbed, they will eventually become a natural forest. His forest preserve now attracts tourists, since there are almost no natural forests in Central Europe. Many residents have chosen the preserve as their final resting place near a tree of their choice. Mr. Wollenbahn continues to observe the trees in his care, and he writes, his book, The Hidden Life of Trees, describes latest findings about trees in language which we can all understand. I found it very helpful when I was preparing this talk. So what might a real tree say about our earlier story? I suspect that our tree would sound a lot like the tree who said no to the boy. After all, we are a comparatively young species on this planet, and we still have a lot to learn. Our tree would be patient and understanding. He or she would realize that we do need shelter, and sometimes we have to use wood. After all, birds, animals, and insects have always lived in and on trees, and many of these tenants do not harm their host. So our tree might explain how we can meet our needs while causing the least harm. He or she might tell us about sustainably sourced wood. This wood comes from trees which have been cut down in a way that does not harm the rest of the forest. And better yet, there is reclaimed wood, which is taken from demolished buildings or even old furniture and reused instead of cutting down more trees. Our tree might also tell us about cork, which can be removed from certain oak trees without harming the tree. Cork is used for flooring and insulation and other products, and the cork grows back on the trees. Our tree might tell us that we don't need to clear forests to make space for growing food. Worn out farmland and even rocky areas, which were never considered good for farming, can now be restored through natural methods to produce nutritious crops. Many once polluted empty lots in Chicago have become productive community gardens. We could also ask our tree a question, such as, is burning wood really carbon neutral, as some people claim? In other words, is it true that whether a tree is burned or whether it dies naturally, the CO2 stored in the tree goes back into the atmosphere? Our tree might scoff at this statement. A living tree can store up to 22 tons of CO2 in its trunk, branches, and root systems. When a tree dies naturally, the crumbling tree trunk gradually breaks down into organic matter. Rainfall will wash this matter into the soil. Some CO2 returns to the atmosphere but most will eventually be locked into the ecosystem. So, if we want to use trees as a means to reduce the CO2, that is, to reduce the carbon dioxide which is contributing to global warming, we must allow them to grow old. Trees can live at least 400 to 500 years in the forest. Some trees are thousands of years old. Of course, our tree would support controlled burning to clear up underbrush. Dry underbrush often feeds the large, uncontrollable fires which destroy thousands of acres of our most cherished trees. And our tree would ask us to support all kinds of efforts to control global warming. Over the last 30 years, trees have migrated an average of 20 miles north and 25 miles west. Evergreens are moving north toward cooler areas. Oaks and maples are moving west toward areas which experience greater rainfall. Of course, trees don't walk, but their seeds are carried by the wind, by birds and other animals to new locations. If conditions in the new location are favorable, the seed may survive and the species can expand into that area. The current generation of trees, of course, are rooted to their present location. That species may eventually die out in places where we now see them if conditions grow too warm and too dry for them to survive. So let's show our appreciation for those trees which we have. Let's remember to give our trees water when it hasn't rained or when they look dry. Let's be careful not to injure our trees. For example, with the lawnmower, tree bark protects a tree from infection just as our skin protects us. We can learn much more about the care of trees. There are many available books, and a group called Open Lands sponsors classes for those who want to learn more about caring for trees. Trees help us in so many ways. Let's take good care of them.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Healing our planet, we shall not be moved. Healing our planet, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Working for justice, we shall not be moved. Working for justice, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Till everyone has freedom, we shall not be moved. Till everyone has freedom, we shall not be moved. Just like a tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
Please say with me together the words for Extinguishing the Chalice as they appear on your screen. May faith in the spirit of life and hope for the community of earth be ours now and in all the days to come. Let us go forth from this online service with these closing words by Denise Cawley. Love our earth. Take action to consume less, use less energy, respect water, and be cooperative, collaborative, and creative community. Like the moss and the mushrooms, our children's lives depend on us. Amen. Blessed be. Namaste.